The most valuable resource that the SRO program offers us in Biddeford is access to the police on a daily basis, so that students and staff can see the police as part of the staff, part of the school, and they can be part of issues that come up, already know the students, already know the staff, and be available right away when things need to be taken care of. But in the larger sense, really, the SROs are there to help students and staff understand that the school is a safe place, that they're available when there's an issue around that, and helping to make a connection between the police and the school department, which I think is absolutely critical.
I think the most important aspect of the SRO's job is public safety. He's a public safety officer, and so he, both in terms of response and also prevention, he plays a big role in our safety planning, our critical incident preparedness. He's involved in the planning with all of those things. But just being available for rapid response is, I would say, the critical function.
Having the SRO in the role of being proactive with us about safety issues, where someone's in the law enforcement field, they think differently than someone in the educational field, and so to put those two minds or a group of minds together is often helpful for us to look at the security of the building, ways in which we can continue to maintain the safety that we have for all of our students and staff.
I think the teachers and administration view the SRO as someone that is a resource in the schools. And up until this year, we had a resource in both the middle school and the high school. And I know in both cases, that person has been very busy helping the staff and the students' administration solve problems that come up and get information when needed and work with students, families, etc. when those issues arise. And I think those are the most important things to the staff at the schools.
I think our parents feel great about having a police officer in our school, and will many times, especially on a Monday morning, based on what's happened outside of school on a weekend, they come here in the office and they want to meet with one of us in administration or with the counselors and the school resource officer. This year, not having that position, we've had to then say, well, now we'll contact the police, and it can be any officer, and it's not the one that has the relationship with the kids every day that is here in the building to do the follow through afterwards. But as things happen outside of school and in school, and the worlds collide and bump up into each other, I find more often parents are looking for anything for help to provide safety for the kids in school and out of school. And knowing that there was a contact right in the building, they wanted to come in and see that person.
I don't think our schools in Biddeford are less safe or have become less safe over time. I think there's a perception in the larger community in the nation that schools are not as safe as they used to be. However, given that fact, SROs do help out with a lot of the issues that have increased in Biddeford around students not coming to school in the first place, truancy, students coming to school but having information about things that are not school related but spill into the school. And I think just the general sense that schools should be safe places, not necessarily that Biddeford has become less safe over the years, but that schools need to be safe places, and SROs are really a symbol of that.
We have a very safe school, and we operate really well. We still operate well with the Biddeford Police Department. But it is definitely not the same as having a school resource officer on duty full-time.
I would very much encourage and hope that the SRO program is continued in this district, in the city, and we've been indebted to the police department for providing the service. The only regret we have is that the middle school level really could use an SRO again, and we're hoping down the road that that's going to be something that's possible. We have a lot of calls from both schools, middle school and high school, at times needing assistance for whatever reason, and having a police officer presence on a daily basis in both schools is very important to us.
I think many people in the community are not aware of the levels of behaviors that we periodically see which is not to say that the school is out of control, because that's not the case. But there are situations that require a law enforcement response. When we don't have an SRO, we're forced to call 911 for patrol response, and that's drawing resources away from the community. And we have to do that. You know, they get used to hearing from us when we don't have an SRO at the high school. And we don't call about trivial things. We call when we have a student who is out of control in the school, when we have a student who is refusing to stop, so is just at large in the school. We have refusal situations where a student just says, I'm not moving, I'm not going anywhere. By policy, we do not lay hands on students to move them, and so we rely on the SRO.
I wouldn't say the school safety has been compromised, but I think there are issues that could have been resolved quicker or could have had a different perspective in resolving them had there been an SRO in the school. That person gets to know the students, gets to know the staff, and in the event that police have to be involved, it's usually not on a personal level like the SRO is able to offer. It's not just the loss of the SRO, but it's also a budget issue with the school department too. With less staff, we have less staff members, watching students, hallways, outside, etc. And I know Mr. Lamonte has asked staff to take more of an active role in monitoring the school grounds and inside the school building. But that's part of a larger budgetary issue as well. And he's had to do that more this year. And issues that might have come up that would have been addressed quickly are still addressed, but just a little bit slower than they would have been. Solving process when issues came up, and not having that police presence that can give a different perspective on issues and be that resource for staff and families has been definitely a huge loss to the middle school this year.
The relationship that the school resource officer had with our kids and was able to continue that from year to year, and that the students missed that connection, and they would ask all kinds of questions of the school resource officer that they now either don't ask or will find somebody else to ask, and they're missing that, and they'll come up and ask if I've seen Officer Wentworth or if I know how he is, because they really care about him and they miss that person and the connection.
From the perspective of a safety, large school safety, we have 600 students in our building. That's a tremendous responsibility and a tremendous amount of students. It's about 700 people at any given time. If the Performing Arts Center, which is we're here now, if this is filled at the same time we have school, we could potentially have up to 1,300 people in this building.
Biddeford High School is a big school as far, by Maine standards. We have 860 students, grades 9 to 12. We're an urban/suburban school community. We deal with being a southern Maine community. There's stuff coming into Maine, and Biddeford is one of the first places that it ends up. So it's, there are things going on that very much warrant police involvement.
Issues that arise in school that continue out of school and day after day, and having that person that stays on top of those issues was able to not let them become as big as they could have become, and we're missing that.
The school resource officer also has been invaluable for us to help in the communication with parents. Parents of students that may not be always cooperative. And our school resource officer has been able to help us really build those relationships with parents. They know some of these people from outside of school, not just in school. So that's been invaluable.
We've also become the liaison with the juvenile justice probation officer and the JCCO, and so we've had to do more with that because we don't have somebody else to do it. So it has fallen to us to do that as well.
That they enjoyed having a police officer in the building. They got to know him. They got to know what he was about and what the law is on certain situations. But also they saw him as a resource here at school that they could talk to about school things, about home things, real life things for kids. I would say that they went to the school resource officer for concerns that they would have that they wouldn't necessarily go downtown to the police station for. But because he was here in the building and a very friendly face and very welcoming. Also, students shared with their parents that we had a school resource officer, and together they used that resource.
We were operating with a school resource officer for such a long time. Until you operate without one, you don't know what you've got until it's gone.
The school resource officer was in classrooms teaching different curriculums on things like cyberbullying and that type, and he would be able to he did do those workshops during advisory that the school counselors do. We used to do them together, and this year not having an SRO, we've seen the void. So it's been really nice in the past to have that, and he knows the law piece and then how it works outside of school with how it bumps up in the building. Other educational pieces, the amendments in some of the history classes he's taught, just different law issues. And taught domestic violence, taught about some of the issues around alcohol and drugs.
Currently, the burden on many others have been much heavier. As a result, I think our students are getting less time for processing their behaviors, less time for really reflecting on being proactive and how their behaviors are influence others. That time is very valuable.
We've had the police officer speaks to classes about Fourth Amendment issues, about we have a forensics class, so there's a crime scene investigation unit that they do. Talks about different constitutional rights aside from the Fourth Amendment, talking about careers in law enforcement. So, there's a wide variety of teaching opportunities, which allows the school resource officer to develop. One of the justifications for any school resource officer program is it allows the officer to develop positive relationships with young people, which then makes it a lot more likely that in the event of situations occurring, whether it be in school or in the community, that they're going to get information about that, and because there's a level of trust built.
The Biddeford School Committee has been very supportive, in the past, and continues to be supportive of the SRO program. I think the school committee would like to see an SRO at both the middle school and high school. Last year during the budget cycle, when there was a possibility of the SRO being cut from both schools, there was a lot of concern, and I know the school committee had asked to make sure that at least there was an SRO at the high school in the event that either or both positions had to be cut. I believe they continue to be concerned about the middle school not having an SRO presence at this time. But their support's been pretty strong over the years.
I think the teachers are very thankful to have a resource officer in the school, and when we don't have a resource officer in the school, I get a lot of questions about when we will be getting another one reassigned. Many questions. I would absolutely encourage the continuation of the SRO program in the Biddeford schools.
Every day, my social workers and my counselors, there's not a day that goes by that mentions we really could use a school resource officer, Every day. And I think that's a testament to how valuable that position is.